While most of us enjoy the lights and gifts, a special group of people is busy filing the most unhinged reports you've ever heard. We're talking about holiday entitlement so extreme it makes the Grinch look like a saint. From neighbors suing over menacing snowmen to parents mad that Santa isn't fluent in Elvish, these ridiculous Christmas complaints are a masterclass in seasonal insanity. Here are the people who somehow found a way to ruin their own holiday spirit. 1. A woman at a boutique demanded a refund for a set of traditional nutcrackers because their faces were viscerally terrifying. She claimed the toothy grins and unblinking eyes looked like horror movie props rather than festive decor. She told the manager she couldn't sleep, convinced the wooden soldiers were watching her from the mantelpiece with malicious intent. She even argued the store was negligent for selling psychologically damaging toys that haunted her dreams. Seriously, if they were so scary, why did you even buy them in the first place? 2. A man filed a formal complaint with a major candy manufacturer because candy canes are inherently dangerous. He argued that after sucking on them for 10 minutes, the end becomes a shiv-like needle that could be used as a lethal weapon. He demanded that all candy canes be manufactured in a circular shape to prevent accidental stabbings during holiday festivities. Imagine being so afraid of a peppermint treat that you want to redesign centuries of tradition to protect yourself from a piece of sugar. 3. Imagine a mother spotting Santa and the Grinch laughing together over fries at the mall food court. She filed a formal complaint, claiming this unholy alliance shattered the magic for her kids. Since they are sworn enemies in the movies, she argued that seeing them as friends was theatrical fraud that confused the youth. She honestly expected them to maintain a hostile rivalry even during their unpaid lunch breaks. 4. Most people buy artificial trees to avoid the mess, but one customer in Ohio found a new reason to be miserable. He returned his high-end plastic tree because it did not smell like a forest. When the manager pointed out it was made of PVC and wire, the man argued that for $300 the company should have infused the plastic with organic molecular pine essence. He accused the store of selling him a scentless failure and demanded they pay for his gasoline to drive to a real tree farm. 5. One man filed an insurance claim for post-holiday sensory overload. He argued that 3 weeks of bright lights, loud music, and forced social interaction left him in a state of clinical exhaustion. He demanded the company pay for a 2-week retreat in the Caribbean to recover from the trauma of Christmas cheer, describing the holiday as a hostile environment for introverts. He actually wanted a payout for his endurance. Is this guy a genius for trying to get a free trip, or just a holiday drama king? 6. A homeowner in a gated community received a cease and desist letter from her homeowners association regarding her giant inflatable Grinch. A neighbor complained that the Grinch's sinister smirk was a bad influence on the neighborhood children and encouraged them to consider a life of crime. The complaint stated that holiday decorations should only focus on positive, law-abiding characters, and that having a known thief on the lawn was a violation of community safety standards. Since when did a cartoon character become a credible threat to suburban security? 7. A mother in Seattle wrote a scathing email to mall management because the Santa on duty was wearing a luxury Rolex watch. She argued that a man who lives in a North Pole workshop would never have a high-end Swiss timepiece. She claimed the watch shattered the magical immersion for her 6-year-old, who is apparently a junior expert in luxury horology. She wanted the mall to reimburse her for the ruined childhood moment caused by Santa's expensive taste in accessories. Do you think the magic of Christmas is really that fragile? 8. Santa photos are a classic tradition, but one mother in New Jersey demanded a full refund because her toddler was crying. She argued the photography company was contractually obligated to provide a joyful holiday memory, and the photo's emotional failure was their fault. She even suggested they should have used advanced AI technology to swap her son's screaming face for a smiling one in post-production. She literally wanted to pay for a lie to make her Instagram feed look perfect. Would you ever fake your kid's happiness just for likes? 9. We all have that one relative who expects too much, but this takes the cake. A grandmother filed a formal family grievance in a group text because the stockings her daughter hung for the kids were mathematically insufficient. She argued that the physical size of the stocking limited the potential value of the gifts inside, effectively capping the joy of her grandchildren. She demanded they be replaced with giant, industrial-sized sacks to ensure the kids knew exactly how much money was spent on them this year. 10. A man called the non-emergency police line to complain about a disorderly Santa at a local parade. His issue was that Santa was shouting "ho ho ho" too loudly. He argued that the volume was aggressive and startled his cat, who was watching from the living room window. He wanted the police to issue a noise citation to the North Pole's finest and suggested that future Santas should use a gentle, library-appropriate whisper to avoid disturbing the local feline population. If you are offended by the sound of holiday cheer, maybe it is time to move to a quiet cave. 11. Residents in Seattle actually tried to return a premium noble fir because it was 2 needles. The buyer argued the dense foliage was claustrophobic, making it impossible to hang designer ornaments without losing them in the greenery. She even suggested lot employees should have pre-pruned the tree to a minimalist look before selling it. After being denied a refund for a perfectly healthy tree, she threatened to report the lot for selling over-engineered nature that ruined her holiday aesthetic. 12. Imagine returning a gift because your husband used the wrong money. One woman demanded a 50% refund on a luxury sweater because it was bought from a joint account. She argued that since half the funds were hers, she essentially paid for half her own present. She called it a financial scam and wanted her half of the cash back to make up for his lack of effort. Is a gift from a shared account still a gift? Or is this lady the ultimate holiday auditor? 13. Scented ornaments seem like a great idea, but one shopper in Texas considered them a chemical assault. She filed a complaint because the cinnamon stick scent was so realistic it triggered massive cravings, which she claimed sabotaged her holiday fitness goals. She argued the company used sensory manipulation to force her into buying snacks and demanded a refund for the gas spent driving to a bakery. Do you think companies should be held responsible for our total lack of self-control? 14. A guest at a luxury hotel in Colorado filed a formal complaint because the view from his window was too snowy. He argued that the heavy blizzard blocked his view of the mountains, which he had specifically paid for in his premium view package. He demanded a 50% refund for the nights it was snowing, claiming the hotel was responsible for obstructing the scenery with weather. Imagine trying to hold a hotel manager accountable for the literal atmosphere of the planet. 15. In Florida, a father complained because the mall Santa refused to scold his son for being a brat. This guy argued that for the price of a photo, Santa should threaten the kid with no presents to make him behave. He even called Santa too soft for not being intimidating enough. Do you think it's ever Santa's job to fix a kid's behavior, or should this dad just learn how to be a parent? 16. Parents at a community event lodged a formal protest because the Santa was wearing white gloves. One mother argued that since Santa is a laborer who works with wood and soot, clean gloves were a sign of elitism and a betrayal of his blue-collar roots. She demanded the actor wear heavy-duty work gloves, or at least get some grease stains on the white ones to stay relatable. Imagine being so invested in the class struggle of a mythical character that you get offended by clean laundry. 17. Online shoppers left a scathing review because their wrapping paper featured snowmen without scarves. They argued that portraying cold weather characters without proper winter attire was a form of animated animal cruelty and sent a dangerous message to kids about hypothermia. They insisted on a full recall and reprint with warm accessories to ensure no fictional characters were suffering in the winter landscape. Does anyone else feel like some people just have way too much free time? 18. Imagine it is Christmas Day and you realize you forgot batteries for your kid's new toy. Most people just deal with it, but one man in Chicago called the police on a local stores for being closed. He told the dispatcher that the store's lack of availability was a public service failure causing childhood trauma in his living room. He genuinely believed a retail store is a mandatory utility that should be forced to stay open on a national holiday, just in case he forgets a AA battery. Is this guy a desperate hero or the ultimate entitled parent? 19. Porch pirates are a nightmare, but one man blamed the retailer for his package being stolen. He filed a complaint, stating the shipping box was too festive and acted as a neon sign for thieves. He argued the company should use stealth packaging that looks like a box of diapers or a bag of trash to deter criminals. He genuinely expected the shipping department to act as a private security firm and make his new air fryer look like actual garbage. 20. A woman tried to return a massive half-eaten turkey to a grocery store on December 27th, claiming it was unfulfilling. She didn't say it tasted bad. Her actual complaint was that the bird didn't look like the one in the commercials when she pulled it out of her oven. She blamed the store for selling a low-prestige animal that ruined her dinner party's aesthetic and expected a full refund for a bird she had already mostly digested. Do you think grocery stores should have a no refunds for bad cooks policy? 21. A woman in a suburban hardware store tried to return a heavy-duty tree stand on December 26th, admitting she only used it for 3 weeks. She argued that since the seasonal utility of the product had expired, she was entitled to a full refund. She called the store's refusal predatory and claimed they were forcing her to store useless junk in her garage for a year. Basically, she wanted a free rental and was offended that a retail purchase isn't a temporary loan from the universe. 22. Homeowners Association wars reach a fever pitch in December, but this is next level. A man filed a formal grievance against his neighbor for illegal snow dumping after the neighbor shoveled his own sidewalk. The complaint stated that the snow moved onto the edge of the complainant's lawn was foreign precipitation, damaging the native soil. He actually demanded the neighbor use a portable heater to melt the displaced snow immediately or face a $50 daily fine. 23. A woman returned a batch of poinsettias to a nursery because she read an online post claiming they are deadly poisonous to humans. Even after the staff explained that you would have to eat an entire forest of them to even get a mild stomach ache, she remained hysterical. She claimed that just having them in her entryway was negligent endangerment and demanded the nursery pay for a professional deep cleaning of her foyer to remove any toxic floral residue. Some people really do prefer a life of manufactured panic over a nice houseplant. 24. A homeowner in a posh California neighborhood received a formal HOA warning because his outdoor lights were the wrong shade of white. A neighbor had used a light meter to prove his lights were cool white, while the rest of the street was warm white, creating what they called a visual disharmony. The complaint demanded a replacement within 48 hours or daily fines for aggressive illumination. Is there anything more exhausting than a neighbor with a light meter and a grudge during the season of peace? 25. Holiday potlucks can be a minefield of bad potato salad, but one guest took it to a legal extreme. After a Christmas party, she sent the host an itemized invoice for the labor and materials of her signature lasagna. She argued that since the host requested her dish, it was a freelance catering gig rather than a social contribution. She even added a 20% holiday weekend surcharge to the bill. Seriously, imagine being so transactional that you try to bill your own friends for a dinner party contribution. 26. A woman tried to return a wine-stained designer dress on December 27th with a wild excuse. She argued the garment was defective because her Instagram photos in it didn't get as many likes as her sister-in-law's post. She blamed the dress for her poor social media performance and demanded a refund for her public embarrassment. Imagine thinking a store is responsible for your lack of viral clout. Is this the peak of holiday narcissism? Or have you heard worse? 27. One woman filed a harassment complaint against her neighbor's glowing joy sign because she felt it was too sarcastic. Since she was going through a messy divorce, she argued the cheerful letters were a passive-aggressive attack on her misery and demanded the city force a change to something neutral. Imagine being so narcissistic that a generic holiday decoration feels like a personal strike against your mood. Does the world really revolve around her, or is she just looking for a fight? 28. Carolers in a quiet suburb were told to leave after a resident complained they didn't know the lyrics to a specific, obscure hymn from the Middle Ages. The homeowner called their performance historically shallow and intellectually insulting because they only sang popular hits. He argued that if they were going to harass him with music, they should be educated in the liturgical history of the season. Imagine being the person who heckles unpaid volunteers for not being professional historians. 29. A resident in a high-end neighborhood filed a noise complaint against a neighbor's silent laser light display. Their logic: the flickering green and red dots on the trees were visually loud and interfering with their right to a peaceful aesthetic. They argued the aggressive dancing of light was causing their dog to become visually overstimulated and demanded the neighbor switch to static, non-moving bulbs. It takes a very special kind of person to look at tiny light dots and see a neighborhood crisis. 30. One mother wrote a furious email to a toy company because her elf on the shelf arrived with a smug expression. She claimed the doll's facial features were gaslighting her children into thinking they were always being judged by a superior being. She demanded a replacement elf with a more neutral, supportive face that would encourage her kids through positive reinforcement instead of silent, felt-based observation. Is the elf actually creepy, or is this mom just projecting her own insecurities? 31. A customer at a Chicago bakery filed a formal complaint because the iPad tip screen started at 25% for prepackaged cookies. She argued that being prompted for a massive tip for a 10-second transaction was emotional extortion and ruined her holiday spirit. She even claimed the cashier gave her a judgmental stare for selecting the no-tip option, calling it workplace harassment against the customer. Has tipping culture gotten so out of control that we now owe a holiday bonus just for someone handing us a box? 32. Imagine being a store manager on December 26th when a man storms in demanding a price match for a TV bought weeks ago. Since the TV was now 40% off in the clearance sale, he felt the store tricked him by charging full price earlier in the month. When told that sales are not retroactive, he threatened to return the used TV and sue for the wasted time he spent in line. It is the ultimate holiday power move to try and legally punish a retail store for the basic concept of a calendar. 33. Secret Santa exchanges are supposed to be low stakes, but one office worker filed a formal HR complaint because they received a hand-knit scarf. The employee argued that unprofessional handmade goods were a violation of their personal space and an insult to their tax bracket. They insisted the co-worker who made it should be forced to pay the $20 cash equivalent instead. Imagine being so entitled that you treat a person's actual time and effort like a financial insult. 34. An airline passenger filed a formal grievance against a flight attendant for aggressive festive cheer on a Christmas Eve flight. He was furious the attendant wore reindeer antlers and hummed carols, which supposedly violated his right to a quiet, non-denominational environment. He argued the forced jolliness was a form of psychological pressure and demanded travel vouchers for his ruined focus. It is hard to believe that someone feels a pair of felt antlers is a personal attack on their civil liberties. 35. White elephant exchanges are meant to be fun, but one office worker took her disappointment straight to HR. She filed a hostile work environment claim because she received a $10 candle while a co-worker walked away with a high-end blender. She argued the inequality of gift value was a form of systemic favoritism and demanded the company pay her the market value difference. Imagine making HR sit through a meeting because you did not like your free candle. Is this woman a total nightmare, or should these exchanges be strictly regulated? 36. a woman tried to sue a Santa photo booth because her kids did not look happy enough in the final print. She argued that for $60, the staff should have been trained in toddler psychology to guarantee a perfect smile. She claimed the photographer's failure to coax a grin from her screaming 2-year-old was a breach of contract regarding the promised holiday memory. She actually wanted the mall to pay for a private studio reshoot. Apparently, children are now expected to be professional actors on command. 37. One man left a 1-star review for a tree farm because his real Christmas tree was too thirsty. He complained that refilling the water stand twice a day was an unreasonable maintenance burden for a simple decoration. He accused the farm of selling a defective, high-maintenance plant and suggested trees should be genetically engineered to survive without water for the entire month. He genuinely believed the biological needs of a cut tree were a design flaw that should have been disclosed on the price tag. 38. A guest at a steakhouse demanded her meal be free because the festive background music featured too much Mariah Carey. She argued the repetitive playlist was auditory torture that prevented her family from discussing their inheritance in peace. When the manager refused, she called the police to report a public disturbance, claiming the restaurant was holding her ears hostage for profit. Should restaurants be legally required to change the song every 10 minutes? Or should this woman just stay home with her earplugs? 39. A tourist at a massive theme park filed a formal liability claim because the fake snow during the parade got their designer shoes wet. They argued the park should have used dry, non-liquid precipitation that provided the winter aesthetic without the properties of water. They claimed this unauthorized dampness ruined their vacation vibe and demanded a brand new pair of luxury boots as compensation. Some people genuinely expect the entire world to function like a controlled laboratory just for their expensive footwear. 40. A mother in a New York apartment building filed a complaint because the lobby's Christmas tree was too tall. She argued the sight of such an opulent tree was intimidating to her young children and created an unrealistic expectation of grandeur that her own living room could never match. She demanded the building replace it with a modest, relatable tree to protect her children's self-esteem. It takes a special level of insecurity to feel physically threatened by a decorated pine. 41. A man in Minnesota filed a formal grievance against a city snowplow driver for what he called calculated disrespect. His issue was that the plow left a 2-foot wall of heavy snow at the very end of his driveway while clearing the street. He argued that the driver was specifically targeting his house to trap him inside and demanded the city pay for a chiropractor to fix the back pain he got from shoveling it. Imagine believing the city budget includes a secret department dedicated to personally annoying you with frozen water. 42. A parent at a neighborhood Santa experience threatened to call the Environmental Protection Agency because of the magic reindeer dust scattered on the sidewalk. It was just biodegradable glitter and oatmeal, but she argued it was chemical warfare against the local squirrel population. She demanded the organizers provide a full list of ingredients and a certified environmental impact report before she would allow her kids to walk past it. Do you think we have reached a point where people are literally looking for reasons to be terrified of a little holiday sparkle? 43. You have to love the irony of a man who tried to return a $20 Starbucks gift card to the coworker who gave it to him. He told her that since he only drinks artisan small batch cold brew, giving him a corporate coffee card was a microaggression against his lifestyle. He actually asked for $20 in cash so he could support a local business instead. Is this guy a dedicated coffee snob or just the most ungrateful person in the history of the Office Secret Santa exchange? 44. A resident in a quiet suburb called the police on her neighbor's inflatable Santa in a helicopter because of the noise. The complaint was not about music or flashing lights, but the constant hum of the electric fan keeping it inflated. She argued the industrial drone was a form of sleep deprivation torture and part of a secret plot to lower her property value. It takes a very special kind of person to look at a nylon Santa and see a high-tech psychological warfare device. 45. A customer at a boutique cafe demanded a full refund for her holiday special hot chocolate because it was too chocolatey. She complained that the drink was too rich and creamy, which made her feel guilty and bloated during her shopping trip. She argued the menu should have a caloric intensity warning so people do not accidentally enjoy themselves too much. Seriously, who orders a gourmet hot chocolate and then gets mad when it does not taste like watery disappointment? 46. A volunteer at a church toy drive was cornered by a parent who was offended by the free Lego set her son received. The mother argued that because it was a city set and not a space set, the charity was limiting her son's imagination and future career prospects. She demanded they dig through the donations to find a more academically stimulating toy immediately. It is genuinely wild how some people can look at a free gift and only see a reason to be a victim. 47. One homeowner called the police on their neighbor because of a holiday light projector displaying snowflakes. The complaint wasn't about the light, but the speed of the falling snow. The caller argued the fast-moving patterns promoted frantic panic and demanded the neighbors slow the projection to a calming, rhythmic drift. They genuinely believed the speed of a light show was a public health hazard that could cause a collective nervous breakdown in the cul-de-sac. 48. A woman in Texas tried to sue a professional photographer because her family's Christmas card photo made her look less festive than her husband. She argued the lighting was specifically angled to highlight her husband's sweater while leaving her in a suboptimal holiday glow. She demanded a full refund and a public apology for sabotaging her social standing within her friend group. Is this peak vanity? Or have we just completely lost our minds over a simple piece of cardstock? 49. A resident in a religious community filed a complaint with the local council about a live nativity scene because the sheep were not synchronized. She argued that the animals should be trained to look at the baby Jesus at all times to maintain the sanctity and focus of the display. She claimed that seeing a sheep eat grass during a holy moment was distracting and disrespectful to the viewers. Apparently, this lady thinks farm animals should have the stage discipline of a Broadway performer. 50. Shoppers at a high-end decor boutique filed a complaint because the 3-foot-tall nutcrackers they bought were exactly 3 feet tall. Their issue? They didn't realize how big that actually was until getting home, and they blamed the store for not providing a visual warning that the statues would tower over their toddler. They even asked the store to pay for a carpenter to shorten the wooden soldier's legs rather than just returning them. Imagine being so bad at basic measurements that you want to surgically alter a toy. 51. A woman at a local post office tried to file a formal complaint against her mail carrier for reputational damage. Her grievance was that she sent out 100 holiday cards using standard flag stamps instead of festive ones. She argued the post office should have automatically upgraded her to the Christmas edition for free because the boring stamps made her friends think she was a Grinch. Imagine blaming the government because you were too lazy to buy a specific sticker. Is this the peak of aesthetic entitlement or what? 52. One resident sent a 10-page report to City Hall regarding the geometrical inconsistency of the town's decorations. He used a magnifying glass to prove the light-up snowflakes on Main Street only had 5 points instead of the scientifically accurate 6. He argued the city was misleading the youth with biological lies and demanded the lights be removed to prevent the intellectual decay of local students. Some people will really turn a festive display into a science quiz nobody asked for. Is he a hero for truth or just a buzzkill? 53. Family gatherings are always tense, but one grandmother took things to a legal level on Christmas night. She announced she was revising her will based on the quality of the gifts she received that day. When her grandson gave her a warm scarf instead of a new tablet, she called her lawyer on speakerphone to downgrade his status in the family trust. She claimed a gift is a financial indicator of love, and a cheap one is a breach of family duty. Does a price tag reflect love? Or is she the final boss of toxic relatives? 54. A guest at an expensive mountain lodge tried to sue the resort because she got a winter tan on her face while sitting on the deck. She wasn't mad at the sun, she was mad at the snow. She argued the resort was negligent for not warning her that white snow reflects UV rays and tricked her into getting burned. She demanded the lodge pay for a professional facial to correct the radiance of her skin. It is truly impressive how someone can pay for a luxury vacation but still not understand how basic light works. 55. Imagine being the manager of a luxury department store on December 26 when a woman demands a gift receipt for a sweater she received as a regift. The catch is that the sweater was from a collection sold 4 years ago. She argued that since the store still existed, they were morally obligated to give her the current market value in cash so she could buy something she actually liked. She honestly believed that retail stores function as a permanent pawn shop for any junk your distant relatives decide to give you. 1. A customer at a holiday pop-up bar asked to speak to the manager regarding the mistletoe hanging above the doorway. He was upset because he had been standing under it for 45 minutes, and no women had stopped to kiss him. He argued that the bar was liable for false advertising because the decoration implied a guaranteed romantic outcome. He actually wanted the manager to force other patrons to participate in the tradition. Seriously, imagine being that desperate and entitled. 2. A mother in Chicago complained to mall management that the Santa Claus had a real beard. She said it was unsanitary and gross compared to the pristine, fake white beards she was used to. She was worried about what kind of food crumbs or bugs might be living in there. She demanded that Santa shave his actual face and put on a synthetic polyester beard for the safety of the children. 3. Some people are just impossible to please, aren't they? One woman in a viral online post complained that her husband bought her a brand new Lexus for Christmas, but she was furious because it was the base model. She said his lack of effort to get the fully loaded version with the premium sound system showed he clearly didn't know her at all and had ruined the magic of Christmas. Seriously, what's the correct response to that without immediately calling a divorce lawyer? 4. Advent calendars are designed to teach patience, one chocolate at a time. But one mother stormed into a grocery store demanding her money back for a defective calendar. Her son had opened all 24 doors and eaten every single chocolate within 10 minutes of getting it. She blamed the manufacturer for not putting child-proof locks on the little cardboard doors. Would you blame the chocolate company for this? Or maybe just accept that your kid really loves sugar? 5. Technology can be confusing, but this takes the cake. A cable company received a service ticket from an elderly viewer regarding the Yule log channel, which is just a video of a fireplace burning on TV. The customer complained that the channel was defective because even after leaving the TV on for 3 hours, their living room wasn't getting any warmer. They honestly believed the video of the fire was supposed to transmit physical heat through the screen. 6. Imagine checking into your 5-star hotel, seeing a magnificent life-size gingerbread house in the lobby, and your first thought is to complain. A guest did just that, lodging a formal grievance that the decorative gingerbread house was not gluten-free. They hadn't tried to eat it, but were upset on principle, stating that the hotel was being exclusionary by creating a beautiful display that a person with celiac disease hypothetically could not snack on if they decided to commit an act of vandalism. 7. During a Christmas Eve service, a woman complained to the church usher that the baby playing Jesus in the live nativity scene wasn't crying realistically enough. She felt his peaceful gurgling was inauthentic for a newborn in a drafty manger surrounded by livestock. She suggested they should have pinched the baby, gently of course, to elicit a more emotionally resonant performance for the congregation. Yes, she wanted them to make the baby Jesus cry for the sake of art. 8. A resident in Ohio called the non-emergency police line to report their neighbor's inflatable snowman. The complaint wasn't about its size or location. The caller claimed the snowman's fixed black-painted smile and coal eyes were staring menacingly into their kitchen window. They insisted the snowman's unblinking judgmental gaze was causing them psychological distress and asked if an officer could force their neighbor to deflate it after 9 p.m. At what point do you think the dispatcher just muted the call to laugh? 9. A 36-year-old man in Germany actually called the police on Christmas Eve to report a crime committed by his own mother. The crime? She bought him the wrong video game console. He felt that receiving a different model than the one he asked for constituted fraud and mental abuse. The officers who arrived at the scene didn't arrest the mother, but they probably had a hard time not laughing in the grown man's face while explaining that getting a bad gift isn't a felony. 10. An airline passenger filed a formal complaint against a pilot for wishing everyone Merry Christmas over the intercom upon landing on Christmas Day. The passenger wrote that the pilot's greeting was unprofessional and overly specific, and that it failed to acknowledge the diverse range of other holidays. They argued that a more appropriate and inclusive sign-off would have been Happy Holidays. 11. A parent at a holiday petting zoo in Michigan demanded their money back because the live reindeer exhibit was a scam. Their reasoning was that the reindeer were just standing around eating hay instead of flying. The parent insisted that if the zoo advertises real Christmas reindeer, the animals should at least hover a few inches off the ground or have glowing red noses. They actually accused the zoo of gluing antlers onto ponies to trick people. How do you even explain gravity to someone like that? 12. You know the elf on the shelf? The whole point is that parents move it at night to trick their kids. Well, one angry mother wrote a furious email to the manufacturer claiming her doll was defective. She said she left it on the mantelpiece for 3 days and it never moved an inch on its own. She was genuinely convinced the $20 doll contained advanced robotics or magic. She demanded a replacement elf that actually does its job and watches the kids while she sleeps. 13. A neighborhood in the United Kingdom actually banned a group of carol singers after a resident complained they were singing with malicious intent. The homeowner claimed the singers were too loud, too cheerful, and their harmonies were show-offy. Apparently, the high quality of their singing made the resident feel insecure about their own lack of holiday spirit. The complaint stated that the carolers were aggressively festive and constituted a noise violation, even though it was only 6 in the evening. 14. We all know Dasher, Dancer, and Prancer, but did you know about biology? A man wrote an angry letter to a local paper after seeing a depiction of Santa's reindeer. He was upset that the reindeer still had their antlers. He argued that male reindeer lose their antlers in winter, so Santa's sleigh team must be female. He called this a historically inaccurate woke agenda and demanded they be drawn as hornless males to restore masculinity to Christmas. 15. Family drama is a staple of the holidays, but this is next level. A woman cut off contact with her sister because she was excluded from the family Christmas card photo. The catch? The photo was of the sister, her husband, and their new baby. The woman argued that as the favorite aunt, she was an essential part of the family unit, and her exclusion was a public snub. She demanded they recall all 200 mailed cards and reprint them with her photoshopped in. 16. Corporate secret Santa exchanges are a minefield. An HR department received a formal bullying complaint from an employee who received a $25 Starbucks gift card. The spending limit for the exchange was exactly $25. The employee claimed the gift was impersonal and showed a lack of creative investment in their professional relationship. They argued that their coworker should have spent their own extra money to buy something more meaningful, effectively complaining that the rules were followed too perfectly. 17. A guest at a luxury hotel in Aspen filed a formal complaint because the snow outside was too cold and excessively white, which they claimed was ruining the aesthetics of their Instagram photos. They suggested the hotel should find a way to warm the snow, or perhaps use a filter on the windows to make it look more like the soft, fluffy snow seen in movies. They also complained that the act of shivering was undignified for someone paying their rates. 18. A customer returned a decorative snow globe to a gift shop because the snow inside didn't melt when she put it near the fireplace. She thought the white flakes were actual frozen water trapped inside the glass. When the clerk explained it was plastic and glitter, the woman got angry and said selling fake winter products was deceptive. She was trying to create a scientific learning moment for her kids, and the Globe ruined the experiment. 19. A guest at a Christmas dinner party called the host the next day to complain about the menu. The issue wasn't that the food was bad. The problem was that the host served ham instead of turkey. The guest claimed that ham is an Easter meat, and serving it in December was confusing to their digestion and ruined the integrity of the holiday meal. They suggested the host reimburse them for the takeout turkey sandwich they had to buy later that night. Would you ever invite this person back? 20. A grandmother complained that the wrapping paper her daughter used for the grandkids' gifts was too shiny. She claimed that the high-gloss metallic finish reflected the Christmas tree lights too intensely, causing a glare that made it difficult to read the name tags. She said it was a safety hazard that could cause temporary blindness, and insisted that next year, everyone must use matte finish paper only to protect everyone's eyesight. 21. Buying a real tree too early is a rookie mistake, but one customer didn't see it that way. They purchased a live pine tree on November 1st, then returned to the store on Christmas Eve screaming for a refund. Their complaint was that the tree was dead, brown, and ugly for their morning photos. They refused to believe that a cut tree needs water and doesn't naturally survive inside a heated living room for 2 months. They actually accused the store of selling them a time bomb tree designed to fail. 22. Gift returns really bring out the greed in people. A woman went to a store to return a sweater she received as a present. The price tag on the sweater said $100, but the person who gave it to her had bought it on a huge sale for only $50. When the clerk offered her the $50 refund, the woman went ballistic. She seriously argued that she was being robbed of the difference. She genuinely believed the store owed her the full retail price, essentially demanding a $50 profit on a gift she never spent a single dime on. 23. NORAD's Santa Tracker is a fun tradition where the military pretends to track Santa's sleigh on radar. However, one concerned parent actually called the Air Force to file a complaint. They were upset that the tracker showed Santa flying over countries with questionable political regimes. The parent argued that Santa shouldn't be seen visiting bad countries because it was sending the wrong geopolitical message to their 6-year-old. Imagine thinking Santa Claus needs to follow U.S. foreign policy. 24. Radio stations love playing holiday hits, but there is a limit. In a small town, a woman called 911, yes, the emergency line, to complain about a local radio station. Her emergency? They had played Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You twice in 1 hour. She told the dispatcher it was torture and requested an officer go to the station to make them stop. Is it even really Christmas until you're absolutely sick of that song, or was this woman a hero? 25. During the day, those giant inflatable lawn decorations just look like piles of sad melted plastic on the grass. One neighbor found this unbearable and filed a formal nuisance complaint with the city. They claimed the deflated Santa Claus on the lawn next door looked like a crime scene body and was traumatizing their dog. They demanded the neighbor either keep the Santa inflated 24/7 or remove it entirely, because seeing a flat Santa was ruining their property value vibe. 26. Most people enjoy a nativity play for the cute kids in costumes, but one dad took it way too seriously. He interrupted a church rehearsal to complain that the 3 wise men were carrying cardboard boxes covered in foil. He argued that it was disrespectful to history and demanded the church use real gold, frankincense, and myrrh. When told that real gold is expensive, he suggested they start a fundraiser because looking at cardboard props was insulting to his intelligence. 27. Dieting usually starts in January, but not for everyone. A bakery received a furious email from a customer who had purchased a box of festive Santa's Belly donuts. The customer was threatening legal action because they gained 5 pounds over the holidays. They claimed the bakery failed to put a warning label on the box, stating that eating 12 donuts in 2 days could lead to weight gain. They seriously thought holiday calories don't count was a scientific fact, not just a funny saying. 28. Booking a trip to see the northern lights in Lapland sounds magical until nature doesn't cooperate. A travel agency received a scathing review from a couple who demanded a full refund for their Arctic Christmas vacation. Their complaint? The northern lights didn't turn on. They accused the tour operator of lazy scheduling and asked why they didn't just switch on the lights for the tourists since they paid good money to see them. 29. Wrapping presents is an art form, but apparently, doing it too well is a crime. A store that offered a charity gift wrapping service received a complaint from a mother on the day after Christmas. She was angry because the volunteers used industrial-strength tape. She claimed her 3-year-old son couldn't rip the paper off easily and started crying from frustration. She wanted the charity to apologize for making the wrapping paper too secure and ruining the unboxing experience. 30. Those Salvation Army bell ringers are a classic sight outside stores, but one shopper found them personally offensive. He complained to the store manager that the ringing bell was triggering his tinnitus and ruining his concentration while choosing gifts. He demanded the charity volunteer stop ringing the bell immediately. When the volunteer refused, the man suggested they should switch to a silent flashing strobe light instead, which definitely wouldn't be annoying at all, right? 31. Ugly Christmas sweater parties are a huge holiday tradition where people compete to wear the most hideous outfit possible. Yet, one man missed the point entirely. He purchased a sweater explicitly labeled the world's ugliest Christmas sweater, and then tried to return it the next day. His reason? He claimed the sweater was too unattractive and that people at the party laughed at him, hurting his feelings. He literally paid for a joke and then got mad when the punchline landed. 32. The Butterball Turkey. Hotline is a real service where experts help people cook their holiday birds, and they hear some wild things. One operator reported a call from a panicked host on Christmas morning. The caller was furious that their turkey was still rock-hard frozen after being in the oven for 10 minutes. They genuinely thought the oven had a quick thaw setting that would instantly melt a 20-pound block of ice. Who tries to cook a frozen turkey without taking it out of the freezer days before? 33. Booking a tropical vacation to Florida or Hawaii usually means escaping the cold, right? Well, not for one disappointed tourist. She filed a complaint with her travel agent because it didn't snow on Christmas Day at her beach resort. She argued that since she paid a holiday premium price, the resort should have used snow machines to cover the beach in white powder for that authentic winter feel. She actually claimed the sunshine ruined her Christmas spirit. 34. Charities work tirelessly to give free toys to children in need, but some recipients are shockingly ungrateful. A volunteer at a toy drive was approached by a mother who had just received a free doll for her daughter. She wasn't there to say thank you. Instead, she demanded a gift receipt so she could return the free toy to Walmart and get cash instead. When the volunteer explained that wasn't how charity worked, the woman accused them of being cheap. 35. Retail employees want to get home to their families too, but some shoppers just don't respect business hours. A department store manager reported a man furiously banging on the glass doors at 6:05 p.m. on Christmas Eve, just 5 minutes after they locked up. Instead of going home, he actually called the police. He told the dispatcher that the store was holding his family's happiness hostage by refusing to let him in. He genuinely argued that closing on time was a criminal act simply because he hadn't bought his presents yet. 36. Eggnog is a polarizing drink. You either love it or hate it. But a customer at a grocery store returned a carton of premium eggnog with a very specific complaint. They were disgusted because the ingredients list included eggs. They claimed they were vegan and thought eggnog was just a catchy name, like hamburger doesn't have ham. They accused the store of trying to poison them with dairy products, despite the word egg being the first half of the product's name. 37. You're not going to believe this one. A homeowners association in Florida received a multi-page, typed complaint about a neighbor's Christmas light display. The issue wasn't that the lights were too bright or tacky. The problem was that the blinking lights were, and I'm quoting the official document, not rhythmically synchronized with the joyous spirit of the season. The complainant felt the erratic flashing was anarchic and promoted a feeling of holiday anxiety rather than peace and goodwill. 38. Glitter is the herpes of the craft world. Once you get it on you, it never goes away. However, a woman tried to sue a greeting card company because the glitter from a Christmas card got in her carpet. She claimed the migrating sparkle was a defect in the card's design and demanded the company pay for a professional carpet cleaning service. Is there anything more annoying than glitter that stays around until July? 39. A customer in Oregon demanded a full refund for their 7-foot Douglas fir because, and I quote, "It was shedding needles and smelled too strongly of pine." They argued that the overpowering pine scent was not adequately disclosed on the sales tag and was giving them non-festive headaches. The tree farm employee apparently just stood there for a solid minute, blinking, before explaining that's literally what pine trees do. It's their entire personality. The customer then threatened to report them for false advertising. 40. Taking down the tree is the saddest part of the season, but one tenant thought it was included in his rent. He dragged his dying, shedding pine tree into the hallway of his apartment building and left it there. When the landlord told him to move it to the dumpster, the tenant filed a complaint stating that waste removal was the building's job. He argued that since the tree was now trash, he shouldn't have to touch it and left it blocking his neighbor's door for a week. 41. You might think Home Alone is just a classic holiday movie, but one concerned parent saw it as a training video for criminals. She filed a complaint with her local TV station after they aired the movie during the day. She wasn't upset about the bad language. She was convinced the movie provided detailed instructions on how to harm burglars and would turn her children into violent trapmakers. She actually demanded the station air a public service announcement afterwards, telling kids not to throw bricks at people. 42. Outdoor Christmas markets are famous for freezing temperatures and steaming hot drinks. Yet, a vendor in Colorado was left speechless when a customer demanded a refund for her hot chocolate. The issue wasn't the taste. She complained that the drink was excessively hot and that the steam fogged up her glasses, making it hard to see the lights. She suggested they should serve lukewarm chocolate instead to prevent eyewear condensation issues for the visually impaired. 43. I Saw a Mommy Kissing Santa Claus is a cute song about a kid who doesn't realize Santa is actually his dad in a costume. But one radio listener didn't get the joke. She called the station furiously, claiming the song promoted adultery and broken homes. She argued that playing a song about a woman cheating on her husband with a magical elf was disgusting and inappropriate for family listening. How do you go your whole life without understanding the plot twist of that song? 44. Ski resorts are covered in snow and ice. That is literally their entire business model. However, a guest at a lodge filed a formal injury report after slipping in the parking lot. She wasn't wearing boots, though. She was wearing 4-inch high heels. Her complaint stated that the resort was negligent for not heating the pavement to a dry, summer-like temperature so she could walk fashionably to her car. She genuinely blamed the mountain for being slippery in December. 45. Office parties can be awkward, but demanding a do-over is a new low. An employee was unhappy with the candle set she received during the company's Secret Santa exchange. She went to HR and filed a grievance, claiming the exchange was rigged because her desk neighbor got a Bluetooth speaker. She demanded the company force everyone to bring their gifts back the next day and redraw names so she could have a second chance at getting something better. 46. Homeowners. Associations are notorious for strict rules, but this complaint about holiday lights was bizarre. A resident received a citation not for having too many lights, but for the color. A neighbor complained that the resident's all-blue light display was historically inaccurate because blue wasn't a Christmas color. They argued that only red, green, and white were legally acceptable and that the blue lights made the street look like a nightclub district rather than a suburb. 47. In a mall in suburban New Jersey, a father complained to management that the mall Santa was a fraud. Why? Because when his 7-year-old son asked for a specific Hot Wheels Super Ultimate Garage playset, Santa didn't know the exact model number. The father argued that the real Santa would be an expert on toy logistics and inventory, and this man's ignorance shattered his son's belief. He demanded the mall hire a more professionally trained and knowledgeable Santa Claus. 48. We all love fast shipping, but one customer found a reason to hate it. He left a 1-star review for an online retailer because his package arrived 2 days early. He had planned to be home to hide the gift from his wife, but because it arrived early, she found the box on the porch and saw the label. He blamed the company for being too efficient and spoiling the surprise by exceeding their delivery promise. Is there any way to win with a customer like that? 49. Vegetarians have great alternatives for holiday meals now, like tofu turkeys. But a grocery store manager had to deal with a customer who bought a soy-based turkey roast and then returned it in a panic. The customer complained that the tofu block was molded into the shape of a real bird. She said looking at the fake drumsticks made her feel sympathetic phantom pains for the animal and demanded they sell tofu only in square blocks to avoid emotional trauma. 50. Calendars are pretty standard things, but one person apparently never learned how they work. A shopping mall received a comment card from a shopper who was annoyed that Christmas fell on a Tuesday that year. She complained that a midweek holiday was inconvenient for her work schedule and travel plans. She suggested that the mall management should petition the government to permanently move Christmas to the last Saturday of December to make it more user-friendly for everyone. 51. Winter days are naturally shorter, but one resident decided to take this up with their local government. They filed a formal petition with the city council demanding they push back the sunset to at least 6 p.m. They argued that the sun going down at 4:30 in the afternoon was depressing, and that the city was negligent for not using tax dollars to extend daylight hours. They genuinely believed the mayor had a dial on his desk to control the rotation of the Earth. 52. Geography is clearly not everyone's strong suit. A couple booked an expensive vacation to Christmas Island, expecting the ultimate North Pole experience with snow, elves, and reindeer. They filed a massive complaint with their travel agent upon returning because they didn't see a single snowflake. They were furious to discover that Christmas Island is actually an Australian territory in the Indian Ocean known for tropical heat and millions of migrating red crabs. They genuinely argued that an island named Christmas is legally obligated to be cold. 53. Teachers have a hard job, but one substitute faced a legal threat for telling the truth. A furious mother threatened to sue a school district for emotional distress after a teacher accidentally hinted that Santa Claus might not be real. The mother claimed the school had violated her parental right to deceive her child for a few more years. She actually demanded the school pay for a professional child therapist to undo the damage and restore her son's belief in flying reindeer. 54. Cartoons have given some people a very warped view of biology. A visitor at a famous zoo filed a cruelty complaint because the penguins were naked in the winter. They had seen holiday greeting cards where penguins wear red scarves and knit hats, so they assumed that was necessary for the animal's survival. They screamed at a zookeeper for forcing the birds to stand on the ice barefoot and demanded the staff knit sweaters for the entire colony immediately. 55. Get this. A tourist from Texas visiting New York City for the first time filed a complaint with the tourism board that the city's version of Christmas was highly inaccurate. Their primary evidence was that the horse-drawn carriage ride they took through Central Park didn't feature jingle bells as promised in the song, and nobody was dashing through the snow because there wasn't any. They demanded a partial refund for their trip due to the breach of classic holiday song promises. 1. A woman stormed into a department store demanding a refund for the complimentary gift wrapping service, but not because it was bad. She was furious because the wrapping was too beautiful. She claimed the intricate bows and premium paper were so artistically perfect that her family felt guilty tearing them open. She argued the excessive quality actually ruined Christmas morning because her kids sat there staring at the boxes, too afraid to destroy the art. She literally wanted the store to apologize for making the packaging feel more valuable than the gifts inside. 2. A mother complained to mall management that the Santa Claus on duty was too fit. She claimed that his lack of a massive jiggly belly was body-shaming the children and ruining the historical accuracy of the character. She felt that a skinny Santa was sending a confusing message about cookie consumption and demanded that he either wear a pillow under his suit or be fired for not meeting the corporeal standards of the North Pole. She was actually offended that the man took care of his health. 3. A tourist visiting New York City for the first time was absolutely furious that the snow on the streets wasn't white. She filed a complaint with the city's tourism board, stating that the gray, slushy mess on the sidewalks was false advertising compared to the movies. She genuinely believed the city was responsible for bleaching the streets or putting down fresh powder every hour for her aesthetic pleasure. Have you ever met someone whose expectations were this dangerously detached from reality? 4. Buying a real tree is a commitment to nature, but one family didn't get the memo. They called the tree farm 3 days after Christmas demanding they pay for a fumigator. Why? They found a single, small spider in the branches of their Douglas fir. They argued that by selling them a natural product, the farm had implicitly guaranteed it would be a sterile, bug-free zone. The father shouted that he didn't pay $50 to bring wildlife into his living room, apparently forgetting that a tree is literally a plant that lives outside in the dirt. 5. Hotels provide many amenities, but stocking the room with gifts isn't usually one of them. A guest at a Marriott called the front desk in a rage on Christmas morning because there were no presents under the small decorative tree in the lobby. She claimed her children were crying because they thought Santa had skipped the hotel. She demanded the concierge fix the mistake by immediately purchasing and wrapping toys for her kids at the hotel's expense. She literally expected the night clerk to be Santa Claus. 6. Biology class clearly failed this man. He stormed back to the garden center in January demanding a full refund for his 6-foot pine tree. The reason? It hadn't grown an inch. Despite watering it daily, he was furious that the cut tree didn't get taller inside his living room. He accused the store of selling him a genetically stunted runt and refused to believe that chopping a tree down actually kills it. He genuinely thought he could grow a forest right there on his living room carpet. 7. An HOA board member received a bizarre letter from a resident complaining about his neighbor's LED Christmas lights. The complaint wasn't about the brightness or the flashing pattern. The resident claimed that the blue wavelength emitted by the lights was interfering with his Wi-Fi signal and causing his Netflix to buffer. He attached a printout of a conspiracy theory form as scientific proof and demanded the neighbor switch to analog incandescent bulbs to protect the neighborhood's internet speeds. 8. A man sued his own parents for emotional fraud because they told him Santa was real for 8 years. He argued that the years of deception caused him trust issues and psychological trauma that required financial compensation. He wasn't joking. He wanted them to pay for his therapy bills and a cash settlement for years of lied-to labor regarding good behavior. Imagine trying to legally monetize your own childhood innocence. 9. A couple booked a romantic Christmas getaway to Fairbanks, Alaska, specifically to see the Northern Lights. Upon arrival, they filed a formal complaint with the hotel management because it was too dark outside at 2 p.m. They were furious that the sun set so early and claimed the hotel had failed to disclose that the Arctic Circle experiences winter darkness. They genuinely asked the concierge to turn on some floodlights to simulate daylight so they could take better selfies, completely ignoring how the actual sun works. 10. A parent wrote an angry email to a primary school principal regarding the holiday choir performance. The issue: the children sang Silent Night, and her son, who was in the back row, yawned during the song. She accused the music teacher of failing to engage her child and creating a boring atmosphere that humiliated her family. She honestly believed that a 7-year-old yawning at 8 p.m. on a Thursday was a sign of educational negligence rather than just a tired kid. 11. Apartment living has its downsides, but demanding structural renovation for a myth is a new one. A tenant sent a legal notice to his landlord demanding a rent reduction for the month of December. His grievance? The apartment didn't have a chimney. He argued that the lack of a fireplace discriminated against Santa Claus and made it impossible for his children to receive gifts properly. He actually expected the landlord to cut a hole in the roof and install a masonry chimney within 48 hours. 12. A mall Santa in Minnesota was fired after a mother complained that he took a bathroom break. She wasn't upset that the line was long. She was furious that he walked past the line to get to the restrooms. She argued that seeing Santa enter a public toilet shattered the magical illusion for her kids because immortal beings don't need to pee. She actually demanded that the mall install a catheter system in the chair so Santa would never have to stand up during his 8-hour shift. 13. Inanimate objects cannot have religious preferences, but try telling that to this shopper. He filed a complaint with a department store manager because the automatic sliding doors didn't play a recorded "Merry Christmas" message when they opened. He claimed the silent doors were a symptom of the war on Christmas and that the store was trying to silence the holiday. He demanded they install a voice box to verbally greet every single customer, or he would boycott. How fragile does your ego have to be to need validation from a glass door? 14. A woman called 911, the actual emergency line, because her local nail salon was closed on Christmas Day. She told the dispatcher that she had broken a nail while opening presents, and it was a cosmetic emergency that required immediate police intervention to force the owner to open the shop. When the operator explained that a broken nail isn't a life-threatening crisis, the woman screamed that her holiday aesthetic was bleeding out and threatened to sue the police department for negligence. 15. You think your relatives are bad? A man sued his own nephew in small claims court over a scratch-off lottery ticket. The uncle gave the ticket as a gift, and the nephew won $500. The uncle argued that since he bought the ticket, the winnings were legally his intellectual property, and the nephew was only entitled to the $1 paper value. He genuinely believed that a gift is only a gift if it's worthless, and tried to legally repossess the Christmas joy he just gave away. 16. You think your boss is bad? A manager called HR to complain that his employees didn't buy him a Christmas gift. He argued that since he approved their holiday bonuses, they were ethically obligated to kick back a percentage in the form of a present. He claimed that receiving nothing was a sign of insubordination and lack of team spirit. He essentially wanted to make gifting up the corporate ladder mandatory, treating gratitude as a tax his subordinates owed him. 17. A customer returned a brand new microwave the day after Christmas because it ruined the surprise. The issue wasn't the appliance itself, but the shipping box. The company had shipped it in the original box with a picture of a microwave on the side. The customer argued that the delivery driver should have known to hide the box behind a bush or drape a blanket over it so his wife wouldn't see what it was. He blamed the manufacturer for spoiling the magic of a kitchen appliance. 18. Charity workers deal with the absolute worst entitlement. A mother at a donation center was offered a brand new free bicycle for her child. Instead of saying thank you, she threw a massive tantrum because the bike was blue. She screamed that her son hates blue and accused the charity of being thoughtless for not stocking every color option like a retail store. She actually tried to make the volunteer spray paint it red on the spot. Does this level of ingratitude make your blood boil, or what? 19. A gym member filed a formal grievance against the management for closing the gym at noon on Christmas Eve. His reasoning was pure insanity. He claimed that he planned to eat 6,000 calories the next day and needed to pre-burn them off late that night. He argued that by closing early, the gym was complicit in his future obesity and was sabotaging his health goals. He demanded they give him a key to the facility so he could work out alone while the staff went home to their families. 20. An online shopper left a 1-star review for a festive, scented candle labeled Christmas cookie. She wasn't mad about the smell. She was furious because she, and please listen carefully, tried to eat the wax. She claimed the label was misleading because it didn't explicitly say "do not eat" in large bold letters on the front. She admitted it tasted like soap and chemicals, but blamed the company for making it smell too delicious for a person with low impulse control to resist. 21. Imagine looking out at the Swiss Alps during a blizzard and thinking, "This looks fake." That's exactly what one guest in room 304 did. She screamed at management because the snowflakes falling on her balcony all looked the same. She had expected the unique crystalline variety promised in science textbooks and accused the resort of pumping in cheap, mass-produced artificial snow to cut costs. She demanded a refund because nature failed to provide enough diversity in its precipitation. 22. Snowplows are loud beasts, but they are necessary evils. A resident in Buffalo, however, called the city council to complain about the noise at 4 a.m. She demanded that the plows turn off their engines and coast silently down her street while clearing 3 feet of snow. When told that heavy machinery requires loud diesel engines to operate, she suggested they switch to electric shovels, or just wait until noon when she was awake. She wanted clear roads, but only if they could be achieved in total silence. 23. Security actually had to be called on a visitor at a live nativity scene in Florida, and not because he was drunk. He was furious about the donkey's facial expression. He filed a formal complaint claiming the animal looked too depressed and was ruining the joyful vibe of Christ's birth. He demanded the staff feed it sugar cubes or tickle it to make it smile for his photos, refusing to accept that donkeys just naturally look like they are having a midlife crisis. 24. Technology often confuses people, but this guy was living in a sci-fi fantasy. He returned a smart plug for his Christmas tree lights, claiming it was defective because when he talked to the tree, it didn't talk back. He genuinely believed the device gave his plastic fir tree sentience and the ability to hold a conversation like a robot companion. He was clearly lonely, but accusing a $5 plug of failing the Turing test is a whole new level of sad. 25. Ordering a Happy Birthday Jesus cake is a sweet gesture until you try to use it to commit theft. A woman attempted to walk out of a bakery with her custom cake without paying. When stopped, she screamed that charging her was a sin because it was Jesus' birthday, so he, or the church, should foot the bill. She claimed asking for money for the Lord's cake was blasphemy. Do you think this is extreme piety or just the boldest scam ever attempted? 26. Physics took a holiday for this Texas family. The father spent a fortune trucking in real snow for a backyard party when it was 15 degrees outside. Naturally, it melted instantly. Instead of blaming the sun, he sued the delivery company for a defective product. He argued they should have treated the snow with heat-resistant chemicals because he paid for a winter wonderland, not temporary ice water. Apparently, money can buy almost anything except common sense. 27. We have all heard of choosing beggars, but this takes the cake. A recipient of a free charity food basket called the Food Bank to complain that the turkey they received wasn't organic or free-range. They lectured the volunteer on the phone about the dangers of antibiotics in poultry and threatened to leave a 1-star Yelp review for the charity if they didn't drive out a premium bird immediately. Seriously, how do you handle someone who demands luxury treatment while receiving a literal handout? 28. Returning a perfectly good 70-inch 4K TV the day after Christmas takes guts. A man did exactly that because the Yule log video he played didn't crackle loudly enough. He argued that for $2,000 the TV should produce the smell of burning pine and the radiant heat of a real fire. He called the technology primitive because it only provided a picture and sound, not a full olfactory experience. Imagine being disappointed that your television didn't literally set your house on fire. 29. Calling the police over wrapping paper seems impossible, yet here we are. A woman dialed 911 because her neighbor across the street used birthday paper with clowns and balloons to wrap their Christmas gifts. She claimed seeing non-seasonal paper in their recycling bin was sacrilegious and confusing to the neighborhood children. She argued it was an eyesore that lowered property values and wanted officers to force the neighbor to rewrap everything in red and green. 30. Big Ben is a historical icon, but for one tourist it was just a broken jukebox. They filed a formal complaint against the City of London because the famous clock didn't chime to the tune of Jingle Bells on Christmas Day. They argued that such a major attraction had a responsibility to get into the festive mood and called the standard bell toll boring and repetitive. Imagine being so entitled you think a 160-year-old monument should function like a cheap musical greeting card. 31. Receiving a charitable donation in your name is usually seen as a noble, heartwarming gift. However, one man called the charity Oxfam in a rage after his sister bought a goat for a village in his honor. He wasn't mad about the goat. He was furious that the charity refused to send him the cash value of the animal. He argued that since the gift was technically his, the village was stealing his property. He demanded they repossess the goat so he could buy a PlayStation. 32. Outdoor ice skating is a winter staple, but gravity is apparently a lawsuit waiting to happen. A woman filed a liability claim against a city rink after she fell down. She didn't trip over a crack. She simply lost her balance. Her argument was that the ice was negligently slippery and too cold, which caused her muscles to seize up. She insisted the city should use high-friction ice or heat the surface to a comfortable room temperature. Do people like this genuinely not understand how water freezes? 33. Meteorology is a science of prediction, not control. But don't tell that to this guy. He sent a threatening letter to his local weatherman because it rained on Christmas Day instead of snowing. He accused the meteorologist of ruining his family photos with his incompetent forecast and demanded the station pay for a professional Photoshop editor to add snow to his muddy backyard pictures. He truly believed the weatherman had a button on his desk that controlled the clouds and just chose not to press it. 34. Modern privacy laws are important, but applying them to the North Pole is insane. A father filed a formal complaint with a shopping mall because the Santa Claus asked his child, "Have you been a good boy this year?" The father claimed this question violated his son's GDPR data privacy rights by asking him to disclose personal behavioral history in a public setting. He demanded Santa sign a non-disclosure agreement before speaking to the child again. 35. A wealthy family booked a flight from Los Angeles to Sydney departing late on Christmas Eve. Due to crossing the international date line, they landed on December 26th, effectively skipping Christmas Day entirely. They filed a massive lawsuit against the airline for temporal theft and demanded the pilot fly the plane backwards across the Pacific to recover the lost hours. They refused to understand that time zones are a planetary fact, not an airline policy designed to personally rob them of their holiday ham. 36. Constructing a gingerbread house is supposed to be a fun, messy challenge. Yet, a woman returned a kit to the grocery store claiming it was architecturally unsound. She was shouting that the frosting cement lacked the tensile strength to hold the roof up and accused the bakery of selling a condemned building. She wanted a refund because she, a 40-year-old woman, couldn't get cookies to defy gravity. If you can't build a cookie house, how do you handle real-life problems? 37. The Polar Express. Themed train rides are popular family attractions, but they usually just go in a loop. One father, however, sued the railway company for false advertising because the train didn't actually transport his family to the geographic North Pole. He was furious that they didn't cross international borders or see the actual magnetic pole. He argued that for the ticket price, a round-trip journey to the Arctic Circle was implied, ignoring the fact that it would take weeks and require survival gear. 38. A grocery store manager had to deal with a furious customer who returned a raw turkey on December 26th. She wasn't mad that it was spoiled. She was angry because she had roasted the bird for 4 hours without taking it out of the plastic packaging. She argued that the store was negligent for not selling the turkey in oven-safe shrink wrap. She blamed them for the melted plastic disaster that ruined her oven, taking zero responsibility for trying to cook a bird that was still hermetically sealed. 39. Cooking a whole turkey is intimidating, but biology shouldn't be a mystery. A Gen Z shopper returned a frozen turkey to the butcher shop because it didn't have the nuggets inside. They genuinely thought that turkeys were stuffed with pre-breaded dinosaur-shaped nuggets and were horrified to find bones instead. They accused the butcher of gutting the good parts and leaving them with a useless carcass. Seriously, where do they think food comes from? 40. Utilities are expensive, but this homeowner found a creative way to try and dodge the bill. He called his electric company in January screaming about a massive $400 charge. He didn't deny using the power for his Griswold-style light display. He admitted it. However, he argued that because his decorations brought joy to the community, the electricity should be free. He literally claimed his private light show was a public service and demanded the power company sponsor his bill as a charitable donation to the neighborhood. 41. Gag gifts are supposed to be funny, but one father took a lump of coal way too seriously. His son received a realistic-looking piece of coal made of hardened sugar in his stocking. The dad filed a complaint with the candy company because the coal wouldn't catch fire. He had actually tried to throw the candy into his furnace to heat the living room, and was furious that it just melted into a sticky, sugary mess instead of generating BTUs. He genuinely wanted a refund for the low-quality fuel. 42. A homeowner received a violation notice from their homeowners association regarding a light-up sign in their yard that simply said, "Peace on Earth." The neighbor who filed the complaint argued that the message was too political and divisive, given the current global climate. They claimed that publicly wishing for world peace was a passive-aggressive attack on their personal beliefs and demanded the sign be changed to something neutral and less controversial. Imagine being triggered by the concept of not fighting. 43. Paying taxes is annoying, but this woman took it to a new level of delusion. She stormed into a Target service desk demanding a refund on a gift card purchase because she was charged sales tax. Her logic? Since it was a gift card, the government had no right to tax the transaction. She literally demanded the store pay the $3 out of their own pocket because math ruins the holiday spirit. Is this just stupidity or a brilliant new tax evasion strategy? 44. Coffee shops roll out festive flavors every year, but one customer expected a literal miracle in a cup. She returned her holiday spice latte after 2 sips because it didn't make her feel Christmas spirit. She argued that the advertising promised joy in every cup. And since she was still depressed about her recent breakup after drinking it, the coffee was defective. She actually accused the barista of false advertising for not serving her a liquid antidepressant topped with whipped cream. 45. Pet owners can be intense. A woman demanded a refund for her dog's photo with Santa because the dog wasn't smiling. She claimed that the mall Santa was a fraud because he clearly wasn't a dog whisperer. She argued that a real Santa would have the magical ability to communicate with animals and convince her terrified Chihuahua to look at the camera with a toothy grin. She refused to accept that her dog was just a dog, and a scared one at that. 46. Hosting dinner is exhausting enough without guests treating your house like a free grocery store. A woman called her sister the day after Christmas to complain that she didn't receive enough leftovers to take home. She was furious that the host had only given her 1 Tupperware of turkey and no pie. She argued that as a guest, she was entitled to a full week's worth of meal prep and accused her sister of being stingy with the ham. Would you ever invite someone back if they tried to loot your fridge? 47. Brand loyalty is a foreign concept to some people. A shopper screamed at a Walmart cashier because they refused to accept an Amazon gift card as payment. The customer insisted that since both companies sell things, the money should be interchangeable. She argued that denying the card was a monopolistic practice designed to hurt the consumer. She stood there holding up the line, genuinely baffled that a physical store wouldn't honor a digital currency from their biggest competitor. 48. Taking down the tree is a chore, but one tenant thought full service removal was included in his taxes. He dragged his dry, needle-shedding pine tree to the curb on a Tuesday. When the garbage truck didn't pick it up immediately, he called the sanitation department. He wasn't just mad about the delay. He complained that the garbage men didn't come inside his house to drag it out for him. He claimed that heavy lifting was part of their job description, not his. 49. A tourist visiting a national park in Canada filed a written complaint because the wild caribou looked scruffy and muddy. She argued that the park rangers were negligent for not washing and grooming the wild animals daily during December to match the pristine image of Rudolph in the cartoons. She actually claimed the dirty fur was false advertising for a winter wonderland experience and demanded a refund on her entry fee. Would you laugh in her face, or is that just too polite of a reaction? 50. Street performers work hard for tips, but one passerby accused a choir of audio fraud. The man stopped a group of carolers on the sidewalk and accused them of lip-syncing to a backing track. He claimed they sounded too good to be amateurs and demanded they sing a cappella on the spot to prove they weren't faking it. When they did, he still wasn't satisfied, claiming they were using hidden microphones to enhance their pitch. He was essentially angry that the free entertainment was high quality. 51. Astronomy is a beautiful science, but one couple apparently flunked it. They booked a romantic, stargazing Christmas Eve package at a desert resort, but filed for a refund the next morning. Their reason? The North Star wasn't significantly brighter than the other stars. They claimed the marketing implied it would be a massive, glowing beacon, guiding them like the three wise men. They accused the cosmos of being underwhelming and blamed the hotel for not installing a higher wattage star in the sky. 52. You know those people who think the world revolves around them? A customer at a coffee shop filed a corporate complaint because the seasonal peppermint mocha was too spicy. He wasn't allergic. He just found the mint flavor to be aggressive and claimed it caused a burning sensation in his mouth that constituted a safety hazard. He argued that the menu should have a warning label comparing the candy cane syrup to jalapenos. It is genuinely hard to believe people like this managed to survive into adulthood without a handler. 53. A woman in a suburban neighborhood called the city zoning office to report her neighbor's snowman. She wasn't upset about its size. She was offended by its gender ambiguity. She complained that the snowman lacked defining male or female characteristics and accused the neighbor of promoting a radical genderless agenda to the local children. She demanded the city force the neighbor to either add a top hat and tie or a dress to the pile of snow to clarify its biological identity. 54. Movie theaters are for watching films, not living them. A patron demanded a refund after seeing A Christmas Carol because the ghosts weren't scary enough. He argued that the film was advertised as a ghost story, and he expected a full-blown horror experience that would terrify him. He claimed the movie was false advertising because he didn't scream once. He was genuinely angry that a heartwarming Dickens classic didn't function like a slasher film. 55. Office Secret Santa exchanges are supposed to be fun, cheap, and low stakes. However, one employee filed a harassment claim against a coworker for buying a gift that was too thoughtful. She argued that by receiving a personalized, handmade gift, she was made to look bad because she had only bought a generic $10 candle for her person. She claimed the thoughtful gift created a hostile work environment of superior gifting and competitive kindness that made her feel inadequate. 55 stories later, and it's clear that some people treat the holidays like a legal battlefield instead of a season of joy. From suing over snowy views to auditing the family trust over a scarf, the level of entitlement is genuinely legendary. Now, be honest. What is the most ungrateful thing a relative has ever said to your face after you gave them a gift? We want the messiest details in the comments. Smash the like button and subscribe if you want more.